Okay, I need to be honest with you about something before I get into this video. The Leagues of Votann are my most complicated army. They were my second army. I got a really good deal on a full 2,000 point collection secondhand, which made the financial side easy. But the painting, that was a different story. The Votann models are incredibly detailed, lots of tiny panels, intricate armor, little details everywhere, and at my skill level as a new painter, I genuinely struggled. I looked at my Votann army today and not exactly happy how they turned out. That frustration has made it hard to even put them on the table. So when I sat down to read the Votann faction focus, I had a question in the back of my mind. Is there anything here that makes me want to keep this army going into 11th? Or is it time to sell them and put that money towards something else? So I've talked about it already. You know, I'm already considering selling my Votann to fund other army projects. These 3 new detachments are getting a genuine and honest second look. Let me walk you through all of them, and at the end, I'll tell you where I landed. So, quick note before we dive in. Same as the other faction-focused detachments, each of these costs 1 detachment point. So you get 3 DP in a 2,000 point game, so you could run all 3 together or combine 1 or 2 with an existing codex attachment. That flexibility is worth keeping in mind as we go through them. Alright, let's start with Detachment 1, the Armored Trailblazers. Armored Trailblazers is built around the Sagittar, the Votann's fast scout vehicle and transport. Think of this as the Space Dwarves' answer to fast attack. The Sagittar isn't a heavy tank, but it's quick, it carries infantry, and now it gets a significant upgrade. The core rule is called Sagittar Spearhead, and it gives all friendly Sagittar units Scout 6. Scout moves happen before the first turn starts, so before either player does anything, your Sagittars can move 6 inches forward from their deployment zone, combining with the blistering advance rule that Sagittars already have, which lets them drop off passengers after an advance move. You can potentially have an infantry deploying up to 24 inches from your deployment zone before turn 1 even begins. That's an incredibly aggressive early position that forces your opponent to react immediately or risk being boxed in. You can also use the scout rule differently. Instead of making that advanced move, you can back that Sagittar up and set it up for later flanks, which connects directly into the outflanking armor stratagem for 1 CP, letting you bring 2 Sagittar units in from reserves at the end of your opponent's movement phase from turn 2 onward. So you've got the choice of being an aggressive turn 1 push or flanking ambush that arrives exactly when your opponent isn't expecting it. Then there's the optimized attack lines upgrade, which gives the Sagittar unit the mobile keyword. In 11th edition, mobile means the unit can move horizontally through dense terrain, walls, ruins, obstacles that would normally block vehicle movement. Your Sagittar can now ram straight through the battlefield debris rather than having to go around it. Combined with the scout move and the transport capacity, you've got a fast vehicle that can reach almost anywhere on the board and deliver its cargo exactly where you need it. Armored Trailblazers is genuinely impressive. Armored Trailblazers is impressive on paper. The combination of Scout 6, Blistered Advance, and the mobile keyword creates a vehicle that can be almost anywhere on the board by turn 1 and deliver infantry to positions your opponent didn't expect. But here's what I think. I own Sagittars, and looking at this detachment, it makes me think this is actually a really fun way to play. Aggressive early positioning, flanking ambushes, fast infantry delivery. That's an exciting playstyle. Armored Trailblazers is a strong detachment for anyone who enjoys fast, aggressive vehicle play. And if you're a Votann player who loves the Sagittar, which you should, this detachment was made for you. Detachment 2 is Farseekers, and this one is all about the Hernkin, the Votann scouts who range ahead of the main force on foot or on jet bikes. When Armored Trailblazers was about speed and delivery, Farseekers is about information, targeting, and making the rest of your army shoot better. The core rule is Eye of the Hunt, and it gives all friendly Hernkin units +1 to hit rolls, and it gives all friendly Hernkin units +1 to hit rolls on range attacks, targeting any unit within 12 inches. +1 to hit is significant. It turns a 4+ into a 3+, which is a meaningful increase in damage output, especially for units already built around mid-range firepower. Keep your Hurricane close to whatever you want to shoot, and they become a force multiplier for everything around them. And then there's the Panspectral Lock-Ons upgrade for the Pioneer units specifically. Once per shooting phase, your Pioneers can select a visible enemy unit within 12 and spot it, giving it plus 3 inches of detection range. This directly counters the hidden rules, where units in cover can conceal themselves from shooting. Your Pioneers are essentially pulling enemies out of hiding and marking them for your whole army to fire at. The same principle as the Sisters of Silence in the Custodes faction focus, just delivered through a very different unit. And the Scornful Analysis stratagem for 1 CP lets your Hernkin unit select a visible enemy unit within 12 inches at the start of your shooting phase, and all friendly Votann units attacking that target ignores cover until the end of the phase. So you're not only spotting hidden units, you're making every single shot against them bypass their cover saves entirely. One command point, and cover stops being a factor for the entire shooting phase against your chosen target. Far Seekers is the detachment I find most interesting from a tactical perspective. The combination of Eye of the Hunt boosting accuracy at close range, Panspectral Lock-Ons pulling enemies out of hiding, and Scornful Analysis stripping cover is a really coherent and well-designed toolkit. In 11th, where hidden rules are going to be a genuine factor on how armies play, having a built-in answer to cover and concealment at 1 CP is so valuable. Far Seekers basically tells you exactly what Hernkin units are for. Get them forward, spot targets, strip cover, and let the rest of your army do the work. Far Seekers might actually be the detachment that makes me look at my Votann differently, but I'll come back to that. The Hearthguard Covenant. So Detachment 3 being the Hearthguard Covenant, and this is one for the Votann Elite Warriors, the Hearthguard. Heavily armored, powerful weapons, advanced exosuits. These are the kin's frontline champions, and this detachment leans into everything that makes them dangerous. The core rule is called Avatars of the Ancestors, and it gives Calls, Champions, Einir Hearthguard, and Uthar the Destined rerolls on wound rolls of 1 for ranged attacks targeting units within 9 inches. Rerolling 1s on wounds at close range is a consistent damage boost that compounds over the whole game. Every failed wound roll that gets a second chance is extra damage that your opponent has to account for. And at 9 inches, these units are already in the thick of it, so the range requirement is almost never going to be a limiting factor in practice. Then there's the High Calls enhancement, which gives your call a chance to keep fighting even after being destroyed. When a model in the unit is taken out during the fight phase, you roll a d6. On a 4 or better, that model stays on the battlefield until after the fight is fought, then gets removed. Your call gets one last activation even after being killed. It's fluffy, it's dramatic, and in the right situation, it can completely turn a melee exchange that should have gone against you. And then the Fury of the Hearth stratagem for 1 CP is where things get really punishing. When your Hearthguard unit is selected to shoot, you give their ranged attacks +1 strength, and if you spend a judgment point on top of that, they also get sustained 1, meaning every critical hit generates an additional hit. So at close range, boosted strength, re-rolling wounds of 1 from the core rule, and generating extra hits on crits. The Hearthguard going full aggression for 1 turn is absolutely frightening. The Hearthguard Covenant makes me reconsider everything. I'm actually excited about putting them on the table. Everything about 11th edition is pushing towards close range aggressive play. Melee engagement range increasing, shooting becomes less reliable at distance. The whole meta rewarding armies that get forward and fight. The Hearthguard Covenant is basically a Votann detachment that says getting close, hit harder than anything else on the board. The Hearthguard are already one of the most impressive looking units in the Votann range. Heavy exo armor, massive weapons, the look of warriors who've been fighting for centuries and aren't planning on stopping. The Covenant just makes them perform as impressively as they look. If there's one detachment in this article that makes me reconsider selling the Votann, this is the one. Okay, so I went into this video with a genuine question. Do these 3 new detachments give me a reason to keep my Votann in 11th? Looking at the 3 detachments together, Armor Trailblazers for the aggressive vehicle play, Farseekers for scouting and target acquisition, and Hearthguard Covenant for the elite close range devastation, Games Workshop has given Votann an interesting and cohesive setup option. You can run all 3 together for fast, aggressive scouting force that soften up the targets before the Hearthguard arrive and clean them up. That's a real exciting army concept. And the direction of 11th, with the close range play being rewarded and aggressive positioning mattering more than ever, actually suits Votann surprisingly well. This is an army that can sit back and shoot across the table, but now it's also designed to go forward, use its technology and overwhelm the enemy at close range. 11th edition is playing right into that. So where do I land? Honestly, I'm going to keep them for now. The Hearthguard Covenant in particular is giving me a playstyle that I haven't had in my Votann before. Some enthusiasm about a specific playstyle, and Buri Agnerson, who made my top 10 models list, if you saw that video, is an army leader I love. Walking away from that feels wrong right now. What I'm going to do is potentially strip and repaint some of those models that need a little bit more love. The painting was my biggest frustration, and 11th edition feels like a good moment for a fresh start for them. I'm not going to let a paint job I'm not proud of stop me from enjoying that army. Looking at these detachments actually has a lot going for it. So if you're a Votann player who's been on the fence of 11th edition, I think there's a real reason for optimism here. These detachments are well designed, they fit the new meta, and they give you genuine flexibility in how you want to build and play your army. A link to the full article will be in the description. Drop a comment below. Are you running Votann at 11th? What detachment are you most excited about? And if you've been in the same boat as me with an army you love but you're just not happy with the paint job, let me know how you handled it. I'm curious. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.